Hi, everyone. I wanted to do a demonstration of a book talk for you, just sort of a modified thing, a book, Frindle, that you're familiar with, just to sort of give you an idea of what you need to anticipate as you are in the preparation of your presentation. Just as a sidebar, I wanted to remind you that you don't have to do a video. You can do a live presentation. If you go to our Blackboard, there's instructions there of sign-up times. I think there are 8 different time slots. And so, excuse me, feel free to sign up if you would prefer to do it live. So what you're supposed to do is take your written form that you have done and use that as a jump-off point for your presentation to tell us about the book. Now, obviously, it's a fictional book. You want to make sure that you're not giving the whole story away because the idea of a book talk is a teaser. And so I'm going to go ahead and go through the process, and then if need be, I'll put a couple of comments on at the end. Just as a reminder, you need to present 5 to 7 minutes, and you also need to have some type of an artifact. And an artifact, if you look at the guidelines for this, is something that you've created. You can't just bring in a book or a cup or a picture or whatever. It needs to be something that you've created in some form or fashion. So keep that in mind. So the book I want to share with you today is Frindle, and it's by author Andrew Clements. The reason I wanted to share this particular book with you is it's one that was recommended to me by a friend. Excuse me, she had read it and suggested that it might be a book because I teach teachers. She thought it would be a good book for me to read so that I could incorporate some of the things that were in the book into my coursework as I teach. And so I took her recommendation and read it. A couple things about the author. He was actually born in New Jersey, and he got a degree to teach. And after a number of years, he began writing instead. And the manuscript that became Frindle was actually completed in 1990, but did not get published until 1996. And the thing is that he's written a number of other books, but this remains his most popular. In fact, it's been highly awarded, receiving more than 35 literary awards and nominations. So it's a really well-known book in circles for young children. To tell you a little bit about this book, there are some main characters. Nick is the main character, and he's a 5th grader at Lincoln Elementary School. Mrs. Granger, who is the other main character and Nick's teacher, his English language arts teacher. His friend Janet is there, and then additional friends, John, Pete, Chris, and Dave. Tom Allen, Nick's father, plays a slight role in the book, and a gentleman named Bud Lawrence, who's a member of the community. Those are probably the main characters, though other characters come in and out of the chapters as you read. The general plot centers around 5th grader Nick, and he's somewhat mischievous, has gotten in trouble, and played some pranks on his teachers in 3rd and 4th grade. And when he gets into 5th grade, he's in Mrs. Granger's class, and he's heard some warnings from other students about her, and she is obsessed with words and the dictionary. And so he, being Nick, decides that he's going to be himself in her class. And on the first couple of days, right away out the gate, he starts being mischievous, as is his tendency. Unfortunately, something happens in the class, and the prank then, or the situation, goes way outside of the classroom. It goes to the remainder of the school, into the community, and then the situation goes nationwide. So you'll have to read the book to find out more as far as what it is that Nick does that causes such a big fiasco nationwide. The main symbol in the book is the dictionary, as Mrs. Granger uses it a lot, and that's what instigated the situation with Nick. I think that all of you would enjoy reading the book because it's a fun story. It has a really good plot development. The characters are those type of individuals that we know, so they're realistic. And I'd like to actually read you a brief excerpt. And it covers several different pages, so I've taken little snatches of it here or there. He raised his hand, and he didn't even wait for Mrs. Granger to call on him. Yeah, but, I still don't really get the idea of why words all mean different things. Like, who says that D-O-G means the thing that goes woof and wags its tail? Who says so? And Mrs. Granger took the bait. Who says dog means dog? You do, Nicholas. You and I and everyone in this class and this school and this town and this state and this country. We all agree. Then Mrs. Granger went on, but of course then the dictionary was worked on by hundreds of very smart people for many years. So far as we are concerned, that dictionary is the law. Laws can change, of course, but only if they need to. There may be new words that need to be made, but the ones in that book had been put there for a good reason. She had said, who means dog? You do, Nicholas. You do, Nicholas, he repeated to himself. I do, Nick thought, still putting one foot in front of the other, following Janet. What does that mean? No fair, yelled Janet. They were at the corner of their own street, and Nick had bumped into her, completely absorbed in his thoughts. Janet stumbled off the curb, and the gold pen in her hand clattered onto the street. Sorry, I didn't mean to, honest, said Nick. I just wasn't watching. Here. Nick stooped over and picked up the pen and held it out to her. Here's your, Nick didn't say pen. Instead, he said, here's your Frindle. Frindle? Janet took her pen and looked at him like he was nuts. She wrinkled her nose and said, what's a Frindle? Nick grinned and said, you'll find out. See you later. And so that is something, hopefully, you'll want to know what in the world Nick is talking about with regard to a Frindle. For my artifact, what I have created is a poem. And excuse me, I'll read it to you and then I'll show it to you as well. It's a form of what is called a diamante or diamond-shaped form, but I've done it a little bit differently. I've taken the two main characters, Nick and his teacher, and I've described them using nouns and adjectives, and I moved them from how they start at the beginning of the book and bring it all the way down to the close of the book. So let me read it to you. Class clown, persnickety teacher, defiance, determination, prank, punishment, battle of wills, unsuspecting teacher, unsuspecting leader, undercover encourager, reluctant, resolute, persistent, mutual respect. So I want to show you what it looks like, and I think this will probably be backwards for you, but you can see how I made the comparison with Nick on the left-hand side and Mrs. Granger on the right-hand side. And you'll see that there's comparison until we get to Battle of Wills, because that means both of them. And then things change. And of course, as we get down to the bottom, you see characteristics and descriptions that are true of both of them. So this concludes my book talk, and it went a little longer because I gave you some instruction to go with it. But yours needs to be about 5 to 7 minutes, and you should be able to read an excerpt, tell us some things about the author, give us a little hook into the story by describing a bit of the plot. Now, if you have chosen a book that is not does not have a plot line, it's maybe a self-help book or something like that, you still need to share an excerpt. You need to give us some information without telling us the whole book, maybe some parts that you liked most about it, that type of thing. But if you have other questions, you can certainly Google book talks, and there are scads and scads of them online that you can use that would be beneficial for the formation of yours. I will upload the instructions on how to get your video there for me to view. If you have something like this, you can attach it to where you're going to put your video link, Or if you've done an art piece or something like that, you can show it in your video. And then if you would take a snapshot of it and upload that as a JPEG or whatever, that would be great also. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. And I certainly look forward to seeing your book talks. Thanks.